Now, on day 4 of deliberations will get underway later this morning in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, the 18-year-old faces 5 felony charges for shooting 4 people and killing 2 of them. The jury must reach a unanimous decision in each of the charges. Legal expert Bernarda Villalona joins us this morning to explain why it's taken the jury so long to reach a verdict. Good morning, Bernarda. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I've covered many trials in my career, and I know that as we sit and do the verdict watch, the longer it takes, we kind of analyze what we think or which way we think the jury is swaying. But these jury deliberations, do they give you any indication that there may be a mistrial?
So this entire trial has been very contentious from the very beginning, from its start, from when it happened back on August 25th of 2020. But here we are, the jury has been deliberated for over 20 hours. And yesterday, we didn't hear a peep from them, aside from one juror asking whether she could take the jury instructions home with her. But this is leading me to think that there's a possibility that we may end up with a mistrial. And I wouldn't be surprised because it's just so contentious. You're dealing with 2 narratives, different narratives based on the same videos.
Right. And there's been this talk of mistrial pretty much since the beginning of the actual trial, right? So the jury did ask for a copy of those instructions. You just alluded to it. They wanted to rewatch some of the videos of the shootings. You know, it's tough to analyze, but does it provide any clues as to where they actually may be stuck on coming to a verdict?
So you got to think, we're dealing with multiple complainants, victims, deceased. Remember, the judge didn't want the prosecution referring to the victims in this case as victims instead of complainants or decedents. So what this leads me to believe, because remember on the first day of deliberation, one of the first questions that they ask the jury is whether they can have pages 1 through 6 of the jury instructions. The jury instructions are 36 pages. What's contained in those first 6 pages? Self-defense, provocation, duty to retreat, which is the defense that the defense has been harping on from the very beginning. So you would think if I were the prosecutor, I would be nervous. However, soon after that, they made another request, and that request was for the remaining 30 pages, which will be the law. So what we know at least is that you have a divided jury. We don't know if it's 11-1, whether it's 6-6, whether it's 10-2, but in the end, you need all 12 jurors to be unanimous in the verdict. It could be that they can be disagreeing as to the different counts. Because again, we're dealing with Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, and you're dealing with Gage Groskowitz. So it could be possible that they're split on those 2 different incidents because we have to separate it. We know that at least for the prosecution, Rosenbaum is the easiest because he was unarmed.
Right.
Let's talk about what we normally don't see in a murder trial, the defendant actually taking the stand. So Kyle Rittenhouse broke down on the witness stand last week. So how much do you think that's going to sway the jury in their decision?
So, you know, people are human. Unlike us, well, unlike me, I tried murder cases. I was doing it for over 10 years at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. So there's a sense of emotional detachment, unfortunately. So when I saw this, to be honest, I didn't buy it. Like, I thought it was a show. I thought he was putting on a show to gain some sympathy from the jury, because at one point doing this breakdown, and I'll notice that there's not one tear coming down, he looks to the jury to see, are you buying this? And also, mom is also crying as well. It was just so very well timed. So I didn't buy it. But then again, you know, you have mothers on that jury.
Yeah.
So Judge Schroeder, we've heard a lot from him, and he's been criticized a lot for his decisions in this case, right? But yesterday, he actually banned MSNBC from the courtroom for these reports that somebody from their team was actually following the jury in a van. Do you think that was an extreme decision? What message is it sending, and could it affect at all a mistrial?
So in terms of Judge Schroeder, I disagree with a lot of the decisions he has made in this trial. And for everyone, just be aware, this is Wisconsin. And I can tell you this, things just run differently in Wisconsin. This will not be happening in New Jersey or New York. So in terms of his decision to ban MSNBC, and I really hope at this point, these are just allegations. No one has been charged. There have been no actual admission as to anything happening. I think what Judge Schroeder had to do, he had to take precautions. Because remember, doing a jury trial, especially doing deliberations, The most sacred people in the courtroom are the jurors.
Yeah.
So you don't want any kind of jury tampering, especially during the trial, but more importantly, during deliberations. And we're hoping that no contact has been made with the jury, and also something to look out that there may be criminal charges in this case.
Yeah, Bernarda, real quick, I mean, speaking of the judge, even if the jury finds Kyle Rittenhouse guilty, is there a chance that the judge could override that verdict?
So normally I would say no. However, let's remember that Judge Schroeder has held the motion for a mistrial under advisement. What does that mean? He hasn't made a decision yet. So he can make a decision today. He could wait and make a decision until after the verdict. I think he may try to do it after the verdict, because if it's an acquittal, then he doesn't have to make any decision at all. But yes, he can still override the verdict. He can set it aside. He can actually just dismiss it based on his motion to dismiss, and he can do it with or without prejudice. If it's with prejudice, the prosecution can never retry Rittenhouse again.
Okay.
All right, Bernarda, appreciate you and your expertise. Thanks for being here this morning. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take care, everyone.
All right.